the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website at www.awakenedradio.net, where you can find out all about the Awakened Radio host, take part in our forum, and chat with us in our live mobile chat room. Want to listen on the go? Go to tunein.com, download their free app, and search for Awakened Radio. We are always here for you on the Awakened Radio Network. Have you experienced the power of one? A brand new challenge for all of our hosts and listeners at the Awakened Radio Network is the power of one. One person taking one action. And through the power of agreement, that action created mightily. Find out all about the power of one at awakenedradio.net. Discover how you can help to create with other people, one person at a time. Awakened Radio is brought to you in part by the Awakened Store at awakenedradio.net. You'll find autographed copies of Donna Devaine's books, guided meditations by Ragozzine and Donna Devane, Native American style dream catchers, medicine gemstone jewelry, stones, crystals, and a whole lot more. Support the Awakened Radio Network by visiting the Awakened Store today. awakenedradio.net. We understand and activate the power of one.
Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ragozzine. This is your Unfolding Senses. It's 10 p.m. March 20th, 2014. Welcome to the show. The show's all about exploring your inner wisdom, and we're all intuitive. I'd like to give thanks to the people on before me, Susan Kern, Donna Devane, and Justin Elledge, who had a wonderful clearing and healing episode. And if you can find the time to listen to that, go and do that when it's available in the archives. Now let's get down to business. As tonight we're talking about being aware and being present. We'll be providing some exercises around that, around breathing, around looking at the start of spring and the 12th week of 2014. So it's all about being curious about your life and your heart. A part of being present to your life involves recognizing that you likely already have what you want, and with the start of spring, to realize all the stuff that you've been yearning for is there or very close to the surface. So to look at what have you been yearning for so far in 2014, and to look at what stories you've been telling yourself and what stories you've been drawn to, and we'll look at some interesting stories as well. Feel free to call in and ask questions or make comments in the chat. You might ask about tarot, numerology, dreams, or whatever comes to mind about being aware and being present for you. Join us in the chat at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab, or in Skype by adding Awakened Radio, or of course dialing 334-649-7204. And before we begin, you can light your candle if you've brought a candle to the show, but be safe and don't forget about it. pay attention to the show, of course, and to your candle. You can bring your journal for thoughts and memories and ideas that come up, and of course, your tarot deck. And we'll do a short meditation briefly in a few seconds, but you can go and find those things. And I invite you to take part in the meditation if you safely can do so. So you can bring a question to mind that you've been wondering about, and as we're talking tonight about being present and having greater personal awareness, I would recommend to ask a question around that. How can I be more aware of my life and my choices, for instance? How can I be more focused and less distracted, for instance? So sitting comfortably or lying down, which is ever better for you, and gently closing your eyes and beginning to breathe slowly and gently, releasing any stress and breathing gently into your heart, letting go of any doubts, any worries, and let your mind quiet and your body rest. Feel yourself filling with peace and tranquility. Bring your focus to your heart, and again, wonder what it's been asking for. You can also bring your hands to your heart and allow your awareness of your heart to deepen and grow as you breathe. And feel yourself settling into stillness. Feel all of your senses open, grow, and deepen. Know that this is a special place where you can clearly hear your own inner voice, however it speaks to you. Be mindful of how this space feels, and you might ask your question now, or notice any messages available to you within this space. For instance, your inner eye might see a color, shape, or picture. Your inner ear might hear a word or a phrase, and other sensations may come and go as well. Simply pay attention to these, and if you don't understand what they mean for you, ask for deeper clarity. Don't force anything to happen, and rest in the stillness and inner peace. This could be the very thing you've been looking for. Notice how your body feels, and breathe into those parts that still feel tight or stressed. Allow yourself to feel comfort in this space and be grateful for it. And know that you can come here anytime. Have and feel gratitude for this connection and any messages you received. And slowly and gently opening your eyes and reaching for your journal, if you have it available, to record any messages that you received. Now, last week, or the week before, when I was last on, we talked about being aware, believing in yourself, and I provided some breathing exercises, which we'll do some deeper ones tonight. But I also asked that you practice them during the week. Hopefully you've done that. So we'll continue on with some newer exercises which help facilitate stress relief and with overall awareness in general. So why talk about being aware and being present? Well, because it helps you with all of your relationships, including the one with yourself. And then you'll be more present, less thinking about the future, and accepting what is. And a good example for this that everyone can relate to this year is the weather. And it is spring today in the Northern Hemisphere. And instead of being a typical spring day here in the Northeast, it's probably 10 to 20 degrees cooler in a lot of places. And instead of thinking, oh, I wish it was warmer, or instead of thinking, I wish it wasn't so cold, you could be aware of how you're thinking about the weather and how it's become in the forefront of your mind, and to become aware of when you're dwelling on it and not just feeling, I guess, a little down or a little upset about it. Excuse me. To notice when your mind gets caught in the loop of, I wish it was warmer, I wish there was less snow, I wish whatever you're thinking about and relating to the weather. I wish it wasn't so windy. I wish I was on a beach somewhere. Whatever it is that's growing in your mind, to notice when you've fallen into that line of thought, and gently and compassionately remind yourself that, oh, well, this is a new experience. I've never experienced it being this cold for this long. That's unique. I wonder when the last time this happened was, and to be curious about it. And I remember seeing pictures of Niagara Falls where it was frozen over. I think that was 1911 or 1905. And that was an interesting picture to see. But it's not making yourself upset or not dwelling in upset, but finding a new focus and saying, well, maybe I can prepare myself for when it is warmer, for when I have time to walk around outside. Maybe I can do that in the winter anyway. There's a lot of neat new gear that keeps you warm without bundling up like, what is that, Ralphie's brother in A Christmas Story? So if you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. If not, it's set in the 50s, and there's a little boy where he gets all wrapped up for winter and his arms stick out and he can't put them down, and it's kind of funny. So to have that alternate view and allow it to see what the options are, what's the potential. Yes, it is cold, but there's plenty of time for preparing for when it is warmer, but right now it's not. And then to find acceptance for that and develop clarity around when your mind is wandering. So this is excellent time and training to see how our minds wander and tend to dwell on particular subjects, which this subject is pretty much benign and not as harmful as, oh, I wish I didn't have a broken leg, or whatever it is that you're suffering from. We all share in a little bit of the suffering right now. So you can ask, what can I begin to come in? What can you allow, for instance, since it is the start of spring? So now we can look at, well, what have I been dreaming about all winter? We've had plenty of time to think about what we don't want, but did we spend any time thinking about what we do want and want to welcome into our lives? And how can we manage to stay present and not push away the tension of wanting it to be warmer, more green, and less snowy? And that's a good practice, just to remind yourself that it's not yet warm, and it may not be warm in some places because, for instance, the Great Lakes are still frozen and may be for some time. So definitely a good practice to remind ourselves that, well, this is a unique experience. I've had other unique experiences around the weather, and look back to, depending on your age, other years where there was a lot of snow or cold. For me, I remember being, 10 or 11 during the 1978 storms, and those were pretty impressive, at least to my imagination, from my perspective. So your perspective can be very, very powerful, and to look at how you can explore with that and open up your life to new possibilities just by looking at the perspective and saying, well, I wonder what is possible. I can still go outside even though I'm complaining about this weather. I still can walk, and to have gratitude for that. Additionally, this is time where we can revisit goals and look inward and forgive not only ourselves, but tend to our relationships. So this is an excellent time to develop and deepen our relationships with others, since we can't do a lot outside, so our activities are cut down. And now that it's warming up, people will be ready to get up and go and move around and do things. And again, we're not labeling ourselves as bad, as I've talked about before, or looking at a missed opportunity and saying, well, I'm angry about that. Well, you still have the opportunity to do these things. It's about noticing your patterns, and especially those that are related to being present. So again, you go back to breathing and noticing how you're breathing. So notice how you're breathing right now. Is it shallow? Is it deep? And we settle typically into a particular pattern, and we don't notice how we're breathing. Are we even taking in enough oxygen to help ourselves stay vibrant and healthy, and or not? And just notice where you typically settle with your breath. And also notice your patterns, as I was talking about before. As it's spring, we can take time to recognize our internal and outer life patterns and see how they sync up. Since this is a new season, we can look at synchronicities that are coming in that allow us to connect with the renewal, with the balance that's connected to spring. And for myself, over the weekend, I signed up for a cooking class, and it was my birthday. Yay, happy birthday. But I hadn't seen a friend of mine until today, and he gave me 3 books that were related to the class. I hadn't talked to him about it, and so I just noticed how the universe synced up to affirm my choice. So notice how the choices that you're making are affirmed in your life. For me, I said, oh, that looks like a lot of fun, so I signed up. And then a few days later, here's someone giving me 3 books that are exactly related to what I'm doing. So to notice the same thing in your life. And it might not be that someone is stepping in to give you something. It might be that you pass by a billboard. I've been passing one that says, dream big. And of course there's other words on the board, but they cover the majority of the board. So I look at that as, okay, how can I be expansive and courageous and live happily and in a big way? And lots of people pass that by, and I'm sure many of them simply ignore that particular billboard. But here you got words that are large as life talking to you, so notice them. That's what's that's the message. And we ask for and pray for messages to come to us. And there it is, in big bold letters. So to be aware of that message and how it's syncing up with what you've been hoping and yearning for. Now, it is spring, but it's also week 12 of 2014. And the tarot card for 2014, as it's a 7 numerological year, is the Chariot, and the card for this week is the Hangman. If you're not familiar with the tarot, the Hangman is someone that's on a hung from a tree, but he's upside down. So he's hanging with one leg sticking up and one leg sort of crooked, sort of looks like a 4. His legs are crossed in some decks. And it's talking about having patience for yourself, evaluating, being insightful, perhaps looking at delays, having wonder, compassion, acceptance, and here we go again, looking at being okay with what is. It's about sacrifice and perhaps some personal sacrifice within our lives that we can make to make our lives better, and maybe now's not the time necessarily for action, but for review. Even though we're raring, especially this year, to get up and go, get out and do something. The Hangman kind of generally reflects a need to be patient and perhaps hold off on the choices that we want to make, any activity or action we want to do, and to look at where we might be trapped in a cycle of doing something just to complete things and then not valuing our accomplishments. So to have patience for ourselves and where our inner voice is pulling us, and we're probably listening to our ego versus our inner voice. So if something you feel compelled to do something, look at it. Is this my ego talking? Do I need to look good for someone? Or is this my inner voice that's encouraged me to grow and live expansively? That's a good way to look at it. And then decide for yourself whether this is a good choice or a bad choice. But since the card and the energy around the card is influencing this week, we can look at that as saying, well, yes, it is a time of renewal, but I need to be a little more patient for a little while longer. And perhaps there are some things that you can do in the near future. If you're into gardening, you can start to plant seeds indoors, and a lot of the people around the Northeast, and since the polar vortex came pretty deep into at least the United States, so though people in the northern areas probably want to wait a little while longer anyway. So to look at, well, if I'm into that, how can I start to work with my needs now? And that might be to plan out if you're into gardening, for instance, what you want your garden to look like, and begin to plant the things that will take longest to grow. And then when you're ready, when the ice is all melted and the snow is gone, you'll be that much further along. But if it's something else, something personal that you're looking at, planning on doing, again, we can go back to asking, is this ego, or is this my inner voice in my heart speaking? Is this something I've yearned to do for my whole life, or at least for a while? So to pay attention to what's grabbing your thoughts, where you feel compelled to act, where you want to move, and use your time now to reflect, go within and prepare, and ask, where can my energy be best directed right now? I'm going to use the gardening example, but there's obviously other things that can be planned and thought out about. So if you're thinking about starting, for instance, an exercise regime or a new diet or food lifestyle, making food lifestyle choices, now you can start to read books, and that's probably a good choice because now you're planning and not just leaping and without a net and deciding that, well, I'm going to eat only oranges this entire year. And don't do that, obviously, but to thoroughly plan out what you'd like your menu to look like and to spend some time doing that. And then maybe you want to be outside exercising, for instance. So now you can plan your menu around foods that travel well. So things like fruits and maybe not so much mayonnaise because it'll be warmer. And then when it gets hot, those sandwiches are ruined. And who wants smelly sandwiches? So to prepare your menus and to look at, well, where can I go walk when the ground isn't so thawed yet? Maybe there's still time to pick up snowshoeing. So there's lots of positives that can happen from being present and being aware of the current situation, especially around the weather. Now we only have about 2 minutes until break, so I'd like to talk quickly about a new program that Donna has started here, which is all about donating your time, your money, and your energy to Awakened Radio. It's just $1, and if you come to awakenradio.net, and all we're asking for is $1, and then you're entered into a raffle. You can win prizes and help us to equip the station with some new high-tech gear, such as audio and visual equipment. You'll be helping us out, and you'll feel good doing it, and have a chance to win something for yourself. So if you have time and you remember, please do come over to Awakened Radio and click on the big yellow donate button and donate $1 and see how that makes you feel, and especially as it's spring, see how it helps you to connect to your expansiveness and to what I'm talking about here tonight. And you can tell yourself, well, I donated $1. I'm not broke. I feel good about it. I helped the radio station, and it really helped me to see and learn something about myself, and maybe even the law of attraction. So come back after break, and I'll keep talking and discussing about spring and personal awareness. Thank you.
You are listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Please visit our website at awakenedradio.net. Today's broadcast is brought to you in part by How to Stay Motivated for Success by Donna Devane. Steps for living the successful lifestyle. Donna Devane brings you coaching in print. Rather than just a book, this information guides you step by step through a gentle and fun process that, if applied, will take you gently through changing out old limiting beliefs. The process is so easy that the ego will not resist and will actually work with you to help transform your beliefs, thinking, and daily actions as you gather proof that the invisible is always working to bring you what you ask for. Discover the fun and easy way to make success a lifestyle. Available autographed in the Awakened store at awakenedradio.net. Also available in print and Kindle at Amazon and other online retail outlets. Have you considered hosting your own show? Want to be part of an up and growing, ever-expanding, loving, supporting, caring network? Well, Awakened Radio just might be the place for you. Visit awakenedradio.net today. Look at the top where it says Be a Host. Click on that and you can read all about what we offer here on the Awakened Radio Network platform. You can also add Awakened Radio to your Skype and send our station owner and director, Donna Devane, a typed message, and she will be sure to make a time available to have a conversation with you on how you can get your passion, your message out to our global audience. Remember, visit awakenedradio.net today.
And we're back, and I've pasted a description of the Hangman from learntarot.com into the chat room. So if you're interested in learning more about that card, you can go there and learn about the card. And it talks all about what it might mean if that card comes up in your life. And of course, we're talking about it coming up within the context of the week. In general, this is the 12th week of 2014. So the card, or the energy around the card, rules over the whole week. And next week, of course, we'll talk about the 13th card, and so on and so forth. So to really give yourself a chance to look at what is the meaning of this card in my life. If you had a reading and it came up, what would it mean for you? And perhaps we can do a short visualization around that, if it would help, and I think it would. So we can do that right now. So make yourself comfortable and sit or lie down, and we'll take a short trip into this card. So closing your eyes and imagine yourself standing before a doorway, opening the door and stepping through. And now you're in a big field. And in the field is a tree in the middle of the field. And hanging from a thick branch is a man upside down. He's dressed in red pants and a long sleeve blue shirt. But he doesn't appear to be disturbed. He appears to be okay about it. And you can walk up to the man and talk to him. Ask him, how can I let go? How can I make a sacrifice in my life? How can you help me to navigate my life right now? What do I need to know to be successful, to be happy in my life right now? And listen to what he says. Maybe items have even fallen out of his pockets, and they might be beneath the tree. Pay attention to these. What are they? Do you pick any up? What does he say? What is he talking about? How does he sound? What is the guidance that he's giving you? Is he done? If he is, you can thank him and turn away to go back. You might notice that you have something in your pockets. What is it? You might decide to gift the hangman whatever you have to thank him for his answer. And if so, you can turn back around and place it on the ground, saying thank you, and then going back to the doorway and coming back to the room and opening your eyes and writing down what the hangman told you. And in the chat room, Donna says he's just hanging out, looking at things differently. And I guess red jasper was on the ground, so that's what Donna found when she was talking to the hangman. And Lori says she found a penny in her pocket that she picked up while walking. So maybe put the penny on your altar, and we can talk about that if we have time later. But to notice what your gifts were from that journey. What did you gift to the hangman? And what were you gifted? Maybe he simply said something to you. Maybe whatever was on the ground was helpful for you in answering a question in your life. But just look to it and look to see how it can help you to go within and prepare for the future, to get everything in order and sorted out, and to wait and be patient in your life instead of rushing headlong into something that might not solve your issues. So look at it from that perspective. Now, this is really part of looking at your life as if it was a grand story and asking yourself, am I the hero of my story? And right now, with our current energy that's going on, for most of us, this is when the hero wants to charge off and dive into the fight, but he isn't ready yet. So it's, for instance, if you think about Star Wars, this is when Luke needs to learn about the Force. So he could rush off and help his friends, but in reality, if he doesn't learn about the Force, he's not really a Jedi, is he? So he needs to be patient and deal with the crazy Yoda character and try to figure out what this character wants from him. But if we're all one, Yoda's really part of him and he's part of Yoda, so it's really accepting the powerful master part of himself and that's where sacrificing and waiting comes into play in that story. He learns to be the master. And if you're looking to fairy tales, you might also look at, for instance, the three sisters of fate, who are always weaving gold, which is an interesting story in that it also talks about sacrifice. The gist of it is that these are magical women who can weave anything into gold, but they all have deformities because they're only focused on one thing, and they've made sacrifices in order to have these skills. And that's the short part of it. I guess I can explain it a little deeper. And here's, if you look at the myth of the three spinners, for instance, I have it here. It's about 4 or 5 paragraphs. It says, a girl is obsessed with spinning, is taken in by the queen and asked to spin 3 rooms full of yarn. Distressed, she acquires the help of 3 strange women and promises to invite them to her wedding when she marries the prince. Oh, that's just a summary. Excuse me. Once there was a lazy girl who would not spin. While her mother berates her for it, the queen, passing by, overhears and asks for the reason for the scolding. Ashamed to admit that her daughter is lazy, the woman replies, that girl spins so much that her mother cannot afford to buy enough flax to keep her occupied. And the queen, impressed by such industry, offers to take the girl with her. Once at the castle, the queen takes the girl to a room filled with flax. If she spins it all within 3 days, she'll be rewarded with marriage to the queen's oldest son. 2 days later, the queen returns and is amazed to find the flax untouched. The girl bleeds homesickness, and has kept her from spinning, but she realizes that that's not going to work again. And then 3 women appear magically in a room that night. One has a swollen foot, one has an overgrown thumb, and one has a pendulous lip. They offer to spin all the flax for the girl if she'll invite them to her wedding and introduce them as her aunts. And of course, seat them at the high table. She agrees, and they commence and complete the spinning. And the queen is satisfied, arranges for the wedding, and the king finds out what actually happened and forbids his beautiful daughter-in-law now to ever spin again. So, to look at that as well, where are we willing to hurt ourselves in the long run for the short-term gain? And to look at how this is played out in their lives and also perhaps in the news. So you see this all the time with corporations that get in trouble for embezzling all kinds of money because whatever they thought they'd gain in the short term really is to their detriment and in the long run. So again, this is talking about integrating your good and bad sides, but not quite labeling it that way, and to be curious about how this is all playing out in your life. It might be through money, it might be through food, relationships, addictions, whatever. Just to look at, well, how is it playing out? Perhaps the hangman helped you to look at that within your own life tonight. Maybe he did. Maybe he touched on some central issue. So to look at that and see how it will help you to step forward in your life. Now, March is also a 1 universal month, so it's also the start of a 9-month cycle. So in numerology, we go from 1 to 2 to 9, and then start over again with 1. So March is a 1 month, which is all about initiating and going forward, starting new projects. So we sort of have a conflict here with the hangman, 12th week, and we sort of want to feel like we're in charge, we're in control, we're getting things done. But now, wait a minute, whoa, it's time to slow down and think about where we want to go, what we're doing, how we're doing it. So to make time for stillness and reflect. So you might want to spend some more time later in the week after the show and reflect with the hangman. You don't even need to have a deck. You can look at pictures of the hangman and research it online. There's many fantastic sites that will show you pictures. And look for the sites that work with the Rider-Waite deck, especially at first, since that's the kind of the standard deck, I guess you would say, with the initial meanings attached to it. And from there, everyone else sort of expanded and went outward. So, again, asking, how can I plant a seed, not literally, but figuratively, and what do I feel passionate about? Maybe you can even go and meet the fates, the three women, excuse me, from the story I told, and ask them questions. Now, you can also look at your birth month number, which can help you to reflect on where you feel pulled and how you face your opportunities and challenges. Sort of like your birthstone. It's the numerological equivalent of that, and you add your month and day of birth to 2014, and then reduce. And if you've figured out your life path number, it's the same process. So, for instance, if you have a birth month number 1, then you look at and are ready usually for opportunities that let you spring forward. And spring, and it's forward. We just had our time change, at least here in the Northeast. So to look at it from a literal and a figurative point of view, which is kind of cool. And number 2, which is balance and relationships. And if you have a question around working with that, I can definitely talk to you about it, but I don't have a lot written on my site, so I don't have any way to direct you unless you type in the chat or ask me a question. But ultimately, it's about our process right now, sort of managing the tension within our lives and not getting caught up, especially those people who are born in March, in the allure of silence and withdrawal. So if you're a Pisces, you tend to want to go inward to answer all of your questions. But the challenge, as I spoke about last time, for us this year, really is to move outward, to bring what we know on the inside out into the world. And I believe during the healing session on Donna's show with Susan, Donna, and Justin, one of Susan's friends, Penny, had something to share about herself and her talents that she brought out into the world, which I commend. It's always great to do that so that people know. So rather than feel like, oh, people should know about me, well, how will they if you don't tell them what you know? So she did that, and that's a marvelous way to share yourself. It's not necessarily about money, but it's about valuing yourself and your talents. You have them for a reason, and it's not to say, not to diminish them and disrespect them, but to let the world see them. It doesn't matter if you think other people are better or more talented or whatever. It's your talent, and it's something that you have passion about. So speak up, and that's great when you do. So our challenge, especially for people born as a Pisces during the year, is to take care of ourselves. And we saw Penny doing that, push past boundaries, and ask about what we'd like to manifest and create and bring about in the world. So this could be something that we're a part of or something that's just us. So we can be part of a movement, or we could be bringing something from inside out into the world, or it could be, I guess, sort of a combination of the two. And not numbing out. So that's the challenge, both for the hangman, because he can give in to the pain and say, I'm doing this for the greater good, and then get stuck in his thoughts and say, oh, poor me, I wish there was another way. But he's doing it hanging from the tree, not as a martyr, but in an altruistic way. So it speaks to accepting life as it is and working to unfold the life you desire. If that makes any sense. Now, we had a question in the chat, and you're not adding your life path to the year, you're adding your month and day of birth to the year to get your birth month number. And that will tell you about how you approach changing energies, changing dynamics, handle the opportunities and challenges that are available to you, whether you recognize them or not. And as a guiding factor here, you can just think of the general influence of the numbers. So 1 generally relates to inventiveness, creativity, and moving forward. 2 is about balance and harmony. 3 is about joy, celebration. 4, structure and responsibility. 5, curiosity. 6, compassion. 7, insight, reflection. 8, strength, authority, and power. 9, inner wisdom, exploration, and curiosity. So you said you had 9 in the chat, so to look at your birth month number as a way to explore your life in a way, so to look at how the changing cycles, so how can you follow through from March, which is a 1 month, all the way through 9 months from now to give birth to something. Maybe it's a new book, maybe it's a new idea, maybe it's a new relationship, who knows? So to perhaps look at your time with the hangman and to see how he might have helped you to see how you can birth something new and be patient in the process. Because we don't give birth to a new baby overnight. We're not aliens. We're living the human experience, so to have patience and compassion. So, back to being present. Oh, well, we have 5 minutes remaining. I guess I lost track of time, which is cool. So to look at how you're reflecting on the weather right now, as I talked about earlier in the show, and to look at, since this is so powerful an expression, to look at how it's been affecting you and how you can be more aware of that affectation, and see how you might begin to be more cognizant of the way that you're allowing it to occupy your thoughts, and to remind yourself, I can use my time and my energy more effectively if I simply have patience, or whatever your words are, and begin to decide to choose what I want to create. Okay, I don't like the weather, but this is what it is. Now I'm going to focus on creating something that's in my heart. This is an opportunity for me to slow down and manifest what I've been yearning for all this time. Rather than dismissing it, I'm going to honor myself and step forward in my life. And you can translate that into words that are appropriate for you. And we'll continue this discussion next week, because I want to talk about Narcissus and his reflection and his power. And we'll talk more about that next week. For now, we only have about 3 minutes left, so continue on with the breathing exercise that I gave last time, and I'll introduce some new ones next week. If you'd like to be a sponsor for this show or one of the others, you can come to awakenedradio.net and read up more about the process. But if you have a well-being or spirituality-based business that matches up with our energy here, we'd love to talk to you about sponsoring one of our shows, and your ad will be played 3 times during a show and 4 times during the month. So that's 12 ads played during each month for you for the particular show that you're sponsoring. It's a great opportunity to connect with listeners in the Awakened Radio community and spread the word about your business. So please do think about that. Also have a way for you to in Thrive Magazine if you have a spiritual or belief business, and you can talk to Donna Devane about that. Or if you're not a business and you have an article, art, or poetry that you'd like to share with people, you can do that by the 20th of each month. That's today. So I guess you can do it in April, or talk with Donna about sharing that, and we'll provide a link and your bio back to you. So please do feel free to contribute and be part of the awakenradio.net community. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I enjoyed talking with you. If you have any questions, you can contact me at Intuition by Rob on Twitter or intuitionbyrob.net, and I'll happily talk to you about everything we discussed tonight, including the Hangman, the Fates, breathing, and more. So stay tuned again for my show next week, and thank you for listening tonight.